So, hello everybody. Good morning, good evening, whichever time zone you're watching from. We are finally here. US Open is over, but we are here for a much bigger reason. We were going to do this podcast a little earlier, but then the biggest news in the tennis world dropped. Everybody was posting about it, and we actually specially have a guest today just for that. Richa is here. Uh, she's currently working for Hashmap. She was previously working for Morgan Stanley, and she's a huge Roger Federer fan. It was a huge shock for all of us, and we're going to discuss that. But before we jump into that, another development happened, kind of, and it was being projected as, oh, this is the future after Big Three, and none of us thought that after Big Three term is going to become present this sooner. But anyways, the future after Big Three has kind of arrived. At least for now, it looks very bright. We have a new US Open champion, Carlos Alcaraz. So Aniruddha, did you see the match? How did you feel about it? Did you enjoy watching him? What's your complete review of Carlos Alcaraz's complete performance through US Open?
Carlos Alcaraz, yeah. I think we've discussed it on multiple occasions on this podcast that he was the deserved winner. But I think it was a good match. It was a good fight by Rude as well. But I think in the end he prevailed and he just maintained and he just proved to us what we were discussing about him, that he's mentally and physically probably the he was the best player
Yeah.
in the entire draw. And yeah, I think he was the true deserved winner.
Yeah, I mean, like he played four matches, I guess, from starting from fourth round. There were
Exactly.
three to four, like completely five setters, and he kept playing. And people are at this time they're like, he has bionic legs. Guy just doesn't get tired. He shows up every match and he's running for it. And it was so strange. Like Rude has much like lesser match time, but he was looking much more tired throughout the match than Carlos Alcaraz was. So it was a very
Yeah.
interesting kind of dynamic which I saw. Tejas, what's your review? Finally, shifting of the guard, a new person has arrived. All of us are rejoicing, kind of. We finally see this happen.
A little sad that the big three phase is like almost over now. But anyway, Carlos Alcaraz, I remember watching him in 2019. I think it was in Madrid against Nadal. It's quite skinny, right, for a 17-year
Yeah.
old. He was good, but now I think he has bulked up pretty well. You can see that he has that physique to play long matches at highest level for a longer time. And to be honest, I think he played five setters quite a lot from fourth round, but you could just feel that he has the temperament and has the game to finish it off. In the end, there was not a moment, at least when I was watching, that I felt that okay, this guy's going to lose, because he was in control throughout all these tough matches, and that is the hallmark of a champion, isn't it? We've seen this again. The comparison, I don't want to go there. Who was that teenager back in 2005 who did whatever he did and wherever he is right now? But yeah, it just the similarities are uncanny, and I think currently the kind of he just exudes confidence, and I feel every single time he's on the court, he's the favorite to win, and he has reached that level. So too good from Alcaraz. No words.
Yeah, that's very true. He has the physique and he really likes to show it off. Like if anybody's on Carlos Alcaraz's Instagram, it's just full of thirst traps. It's just Carlos Alcaraz posing shirtless and serving and doing this. And I'm like, nice, man. Just a thing a 19-year-old would do with a good abs, like six-pack abs completely. Also, Arijit, so Carlos Alcaraz, very physically fit, very mentally fit. What do you think about the coach of the guy, John Carlos Ferrero? He has been very um like instrumental in his rise, and he has been a very old player. So what do you think, how much role did he play also? Like, do you think like they're still going to be together for like a longer period of time? What do you think about that?
I hope so, but I wonder whether Federer also runs as fast or as much like Alcaraz, man. Like that, Alcaraz for the first time, I felt very old while watching a tennis match. If that guy, from where does he get that kind of energy? And if Federer is working on that, like he has to have someone to run along with him that much. And I was bowled by the stamina of this guy, this chap,
Yeah.
Alcaraz. But Ferrero, he's doing. I think what Ferrero is bringing over here is that mental fortitude. Like after having two five setters, and then he coming in the final also and prevailing, and wow, with what style and panache. So I think Federer is doing justice over there, and let's see. I hope this goes for a longer partnership and not short-term collaborations.
Yeah, I also think like this is going to be much more like Tony Nadal kind of scene where they do remain for life almost. Like it's going to be very long. All like I think a few things will change as he gets older because again, people kind of try to explore, they kind of try to search for new style. So maybe after like 10, 15 years, we may see a change. But for now, it's like a match made in heaven. It works really well. So as I said before, Richa is a new panelist in our podcast, and she kind of follows tennis right now, but she was much more of a Federer fan back then. But Richa, we finally have another very teenage Spaniard who's coming up. So, what do you feel about Carlos Alcaraz's rise?
I think from how he has performed right now in the US Open, when you see he has actually gone through a very tough draw and come out victorious, not just victorious in the US Open, but climbed the ladder to the top ranking. I'm really excited to see what this guy brings up for the next year. I think with the big three, obviously Roger Federer out of the picture now, and we have a couple of them still left. I'm excited to see what 2023 brings up for us.
Yeah, like she actually raised a very good point. So, everybody, like, just gonna jump in. How many Grand Slams do you think Carlos Alcaraz can win in 2023? My prediction is one. I think it's going to be US Open again. But like Tejas, how many do you think he can win?
I think he'll win the hard courts.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
You're betting against Djokovic. Kind of, he's returning back this year, Australian Open with all the vengeance, and still no vaccines.
Yeah.
Just the vengeance. It's just a
Yes.
single V. Aniruddha, how many Grand Slams do you think Carlos Alcaraz is going to win in 2023?
Yeah, I think at least one, and it would be either of the hard courts. So at least one of the hard courts. But then if you get Djokovic, so it will be difficult.
Yeah, that's one of the things which he also covered, that he was lucky not to have Djokovic. He explicitly stated that. Arijit, what do you think is going to happen, and what do you wish is going to happen? You're mute.
Yeah, I think he's going to win two.
Okay.
And one would be US Open, and the other one would be the French Open.
Arijit opened his mouth and came for Rafa. He was like, Rafa's home should be destroyed.
I know that this podcast has been taken over all by Rafa fans and all that. But anyway, I think like he's ready for the big league now, and it would be fun following him, especially in 2023.
Yeah, that's very true. I also am excited to look forward for Carlos Alcaraz and what he does in 2023. Now, when talking about Carlos Alcaraz, at one point in time, do you remember that there was this thing which he mentioned in the press conference that she's not replying to my messages? Does anybody remember that? So this is regarding Iga Swiatek. So Carlos Alcaraz was asked about Iga Swiatek, and he in press conference confessed that, oh, Iga Swiatek has not been replying to my message. Again, just the thing a teenager would do. So since then, tennis community has multiple fan fiction where Carlos Alcaraz is after Iga Swiatek is after Nadal. But Nadal is he's already married, so he's not giving power to anybody. And it's becoming very complex. And I just love the fan fiction which keeps coming in. They are like AI generated imagery in Mid Journey, where Rafa is basically doing the full that Kajol and Shah Rukh Khan pose, where like he's going ahead.
Just about to tell, Agniv watched Kuch Kuch Hota Hai recently, and he's trying to build up a story based on that.
No, it's actually there. You can go and watch it. I'll share the videos and images with you. The fan fiction is pretty heavy. But anyways, moving on to the female champion we're talking about, Iga Swiatek finally breaks, because till now she had won 2 French Open. Everybody thought that, oh, she's a clay queen and this is where she ends. This is where I think she makes the mark and tells everybody she's serious about it. The third Grand Slam has come in. It's a different surface. And did she dominate? Oh my God, it was a good match. She really did dominate. So Tejas, what do you think is for future of Iga Swiatek now?
I'm just surprised that she hasn't won more this year. I think that she was looking really good, pre Wimbledon as well. Maybe I'm still a little rusty at the beginning, but no, I think uh, I was really surprised that she didn't win more. Just not at all surprised that she was dominant throughout the tournament. I think she's here to stay. She gives me the Steen Enna Arden kind of a vibe. Don't know why. She was my favorite player back in the day, so she just gives me that vibe. She's all about hardworking, and on her day can destroy anyone. So not at all surprised by her victory. We're looking forward to seeing her win a lot next year as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, one of the things which I noticed is really different about Iga is that how much her media interaction focuses on her sport rather than who she as a person is, which is very different than the other champions which are currently active and WTA. And I think this is why she has the most potential, because after Ash Barty, she's the first player who I see who has that kind of aura going ahead where people love her for her game. So Aniruddha, Iga just won. What are your words for it? You people predicted it. I didn't call it. So yeah, it's my fault. But yeah.
Even I didn't predict it. If you guys remember, I said it would be a qualifier. So I'm very
Yeah.
happy.
Finally,
I'm
WTA
very
is becoming
happy that
stable.
yes, yes, finally somebody has more than one Grand Slam in WTA. So I think that's a progress and a good point that you brought in, Agniv, that people love her for her game and not for the other things that she's doing. So yes, very happy to see somebody taking on the taking on WTA forward in terms of Grand Slams and being
Yeah.
consistent.
Now I really want to spice up this podcast. So I'm going to ask a really hot question to Arijit. Arijit, are you ready? So Arijit, I know you are really
Yeah, I
into
wasn't
like,
ready, but
so for everybody who doesn't know, Arijit is really like speaking against authority. He really likes people who take a stand. But Arijit, I think fine, this is just something like a sports person should first prove themselves and then get into politics rather than getting into politics just straight away while you're still in the game. Now, Iga Swiatek is somebody who has really been very politically inactive in a lot of sense, because like if you look at Naomi Osaka, or if you look at like Serena, also like later Serena was very much political active. Early Serena was completely about the game. So do you think this is the right approach to follow, or do you think that sports person should focus on the politics?
see, I don't know if I am in a position to predict whether a person should get into politics. They should focus more on the game. How they empower people around is more important. Like, if your government is not faring well, or is being autocratic, and in that sense, there's a lot of subjugation of people around, how you can become a change, is that something I look in a sports player. There have been instances of various sports players across sports. Uh, so how they motivate people is one thing, but I think it's too early for anyone to get into politics. I would rather prefer her to be focused more on the game part of it. On that note, I would also like to commend her contender Uns Jabir.
Yes,
Like,
from Tunisia.
she
Yeah.
is actually motivating people. Means given from where she has come
Hmm.
from, there are a lot of people she's actually motivating to take to consider tennis as a sport or sports as a profession, because there's a lot of subjugation, there's a lot of restriction in our society. So if she is able to change the mindset of people, then very well for the for the sport and the people who follow.
Yeah, I think like this is a very important point that you don't have to be vocal. Sometimes just being there and having that presence and having that dominance kind of inspires people, because sometimes when you're very young and you look at yourself and you look at your whole clan and you think, oh my god, we are never going to make it. Even one person who's out there can inspire you enough to be like, if that person did it, I may also do it. So I think sometimes it's the presence itself which kind of lays the political responsibility and all kind of inspiration which a person can exude. So yeah, very well done by Arijit. I really like his take.
One person I really admire is Martina Navratilova.
Yeah.
Like she always comes up and speaks against autocratic governments, be it somewhere in Eastern Europe or some place we know personally. I'm talking about USA, not our country. So, but it is important to be outspoken. Definitely, it is to be important to be outspoken as a sports player because you can bring the attention of the world to some injustice being meted out to some people.
True. Now, since we're kind of at the halfway mark and Richa is also looking at me eagerly and everybody is waiting for the moment to drop the ball, boys and girls, it's time to get very sad. Our king has left the court. Roger Federer retires. Now, for everyone, like I think many people know, but many people do not know, Roger Federer most probably was actually planning a return. He was planning to play Lava Cup and Basel, but he again got injured. He was already 1.5 years out of the sport, had two surgeries. I think another surgery after Wimbledon last year, tried to recover, was kind of making a comeback, again had a knee injury. And I think this is the worst part of how this whole thing, like all of us expected him to go, but the bad part is that he did not go on his terms, and that's what I really hate about this. It kind of makes you feel that okay, maybe like if he wanted to like play another year and then leave, it would have been better, I guess. But like that's the part which makes me more the saddest the most. So Tejas, what's your take on his retirement? How do you feel about it in general? Just go ahead and comment.
Retirement is inevitable. I think we've all known that, but I really never thought that we'll sit and discuss about the retirement of Roger Federer. It just feels so unreal,
Yep.
Uh, I don't know. Since the time started watching tennis, of course I'm a Nadal fan, but I'll be very honest. I think if anyone, there is a saying that not one player can be bigger than the game. Right? We
Yeah.
always say that in other sport as well, but I feel if there's one player who is actually bigger than the game, it's Roger Federer. I
Yep.
don't know. I mean, I just feel that we are sitting here and we talk about a lot of retirements in all of the sports. Just feels like it's too simple, isn't it, for us to talk about? I mean, am I even qualified to talk about someone like Roger Federer
That's
about his
the
retirement? I don't even know that we shouldn't, and at least I shouldn't be speaking of him, speaking about him in a casual way. He's just
yeah.
tennis royalty, and I feel that sometimes he has been bigger than the game. Uh, numbers doesn't matter. I mean, of course, he has 20. There are really talks about him being the greatest of all player, all time. But I feel for me, since the time I watched, it's tennis is Roger Federer. And
Yeah.
trust me, I'm a diehard Rafa Nadal fan. I don't think I can like another player as much as I do with Rafael Nadal, but I think the respect that I have for Roger Federer is something else. Just sad. I mean, whenever I speak about it, my heart just sinks even more, and I
Yep.
don't know why. It's just a really sad day, and a sad few days as well.
Yeah.
I hope he enjoys the Cup. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, yeah, I was just kind of adding to it. But yeah, like I completely get your emotion which you shared as a Nadal fan because since 2000 like 6 7 I've been hating on Roger Federer so much that this guy keeps winning. But there's this very weird concept in Buddhism where they say that life only makes sense because of everything which doesn't exist after that and before that. It's the background which makes the foreground beautiful. And I think all my love for Nadal kind of built upon Federer as the background. And suddenly, like when he's gone, it kind of feels like I did not value that background enough. That's what I started feeling when the first time like I heard the news. And also in the last 2 years when I saw him so injured. And first time, like I think this is the first time in Roger Federer's career, 2020-21, when he was actually an underdog in the matches. Otherwise, Federer was always the person where people were trying to be him. Then 2019-20, Djokovic literally started like taking all his records and whatnot. And then suddenly like he becomes an underdog. And the worst part is I know that this time he cannot make a comeback. And that's the thing which like irked me the most, that this guy did not get the right time to be the underdog. He was always the king and then suddenly like you kind of start losing it. So yeah, that's the part which make me sad. But yeah, we actually have a Federer fan here. It's one thing to come from a Nadal fan that I love Federer. Oh, two Federer fans. Arijit also is calling himself. But yeah, the person who really just came for Roger Federer, she heard about the news and she was like, I really need to speak about it. Richa, what are your thoughts? Federer left, finally retired. What are your thoughts about this?
I obviously am extremely sad about it. For the fact that I'll not get to watch Roger Federer playing again on the court. Uh, so that's a huge shock. But as we understand, sports is something which is very much related to age. After a certain age, you cannot be
Hmm.
active, and there
Yeah,
is a time when you have to go. So it was there. It's just
yeah,
that we did not know when the ball will drop.
yeah, that's the point.
It's just everyone was hoping that it would have been a couple of years ago. Then Roger came back, won Australian Open, and performed really well. It was all so we were hoping something like that to happen again. But yeah, um, it's something. It's his decision. We can't help it, right? But then he has done a lot for the sport already. I think he has already achieved a lot. So nothing. I don't think that I'm sad that he did not achieve more, but more about I'll not get to see him
Huh.
play.
Yeah,
So
like
yeah.
it's weird. Like if we are like New York karna chahiye tha, and we are sitting here with our tummies coming out. नहीं नहीं इतना एक और तो जीत सकता था यार. This was doable. Very like.
So yeah, I think one of the reasons that he pushed the record right from 14
Hmm.
was the last Grand Slam title.
Yeah,
No one would have imagined someone crossing it, but then Roger proved that it's possible going up to 20, and then we saw Nadal and Djokovic really going after it and still at that record.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. It was really an interesting phase for tennis. I'll say the last 10-15 years. We'll see. I'm excited to see how or who takes over the mantle
Yeah.
from here. But yeah, that's how it is now.
Great response. And also like it's really goes to talk about the beauty of Federer game. What I really found interesting was Federer actually has shots which he actually invented, which now are implemented more by Nick Kyrgios, etc. Shots like Saber, which actually expands as sneak attack by Roger. So nobody else had that shot, or that kind of jumping forehand which he took for Pete Sampras and made his own. Then his beautiful drop shot, which just drops the ball dead. It doesn't have a name, but he kind of patented it. There are not many people who can do that. So Aniruddha, how do you think about the Federer, who's not just a like player, he's much more of a tennis artist? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think he was just a magician on court, and I think for most time I think I'll be missing the most beautiful backhand in
Yeah,
tennis. So I don't think that anybody ever has a backhand that comes close to what Roger Federer had. So yeah, and I actually so when I started playing tennis, I played the single-handed backhand just because
hmm.
it was Federer's
Federer.
backhand.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then after Federer, we had Wawrinka. So then
Hmm.
Wawrinka had the same, this thing. But then I thought I was. Give me a minute. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no issues. I think since Anirudh kind of had an issue, we can continue with Arijit, get his opinion, then we can switch back to Anirudh. So Arijit, what are your thoughts on Federer? How do you feel as a Federer fan?
Yeah. I'll give you a backstory. So,
Okay, man, nice.
uh, early 2000s, I really hated one country because they were like dominating sports everywhere, and it was Australia.
Okay.
Uh, so 2001, there was this like that's one of my favorite Wimbledon tournaments I have followed because I guess in the third round, Pete Sampras lost to this young chap called Roger Federer, and I was so surprised at Sampras losing to a 19-year-old back then,
Yeah.
and I was really surprised. And but it gave me hope that okay, there's something exciting happening. And Federer did not progress to the finals. I believe finals was between Pat Rafter and Goran Ivanisevic. That was a gem of a match. And so I was happy that an Australian lost, but I had almost forgotten about Federer. But again, 2003, he returns and defeats Mark Philippousis, another Australian. And Federer is also the reason how Australian tennis came to a standstill, because you had Rafter, you had Philippousis, you had the Woody brothers, the
Hewitt.
Woodies, not the brothers, the Woodies, and then you had Leighton Hewitt. Leighton Hewitt was the most
Number
dominant
one.
and the
Yeah.
most highly tipped player, and I hated Australians back then. So I was really happy that Federer came to defeat Mark Philippousis. Great player Philippousis, but Federer, he became folklore for everyone. Wherever anyone mentions a backhand, and you just simply start reminiscing about and crying a little bit about the same, that you had nothing to say it back again. He was just poetry in motion, especially on the green turf of
Yeah, like it goes on to say something that one of the best writers of our generation, like best, like he's not that famous because he died very early, but he's the writer of Infinite Jest. Like suddenly blank out on his name. I'll search for his name, but he actually wrote an essay on Roger Federer, and that's kind of on the beauty of Roger Federer tennis. So it's like it just shows you how much beautiful his game is. Also, like the one-handed backhand, he kept it alive. After Cureton, everybody kind of started realizing that two-handed backhands helps you with rallies and whatnot. But it was Federer which kind of kept it alive. It told about the technique, that how you can direct the ball at any point of the court and how it gives you another tactical advantage. And he kind of kept it alive. And now we still have players who do it. So Aniruddha, you were in the middle of your comment when you had to kind of drop off. So yeah, just comment, just complete what you were saying.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I had somebody at the door. So yeah, I was just saying that Federer's game, unlike the other two, say Nadal or Djokovic. So Djokovic is more of a hustler on court. So you give him a ball anywhere in the court, he'll go and he'll
Yeah.
drop it inside the court. And then when you think of Rafa, Rafa is all muscular, and then hitting the ball with as much power as he can, generating spin. But when you speak of Federer, Federer is just that free flowing tennis who will get to the ball, and then it's just magic sort of. So I think that will be something that will be missed the most. And yeah, when you think of it, there will be no more Rafa versus Federer matches. So
Yeah,
yeah.
nothing to kind of look forward to. We losing a part of our
Yes.
childhood there.
Yes.
Also, like, yeah, he did like mention a very important thing which I started noticing about myself, that while like supporting, I really loved Rafa, but like if I ever get to watch a match, I would any day pick a Roger Federer match over anybody else's, because it's just very pleasing to the eyes. The shots just connect, and like the thing is, like I think the most boring to watch is Djokovic, which is very mechanical. Everybody, the rally just keeps going on. Second number boring, I think, is Rafael Nadal, especially the current Rafael Nadal, which doesn't like hustle anymore. The early Rafa was much more about, oh my God, he's going to pick up every ball. And that's why it was exciting. But after like, I think 2012, 13, Rafa became again one of the guys who just focused on the grinding. But Federer was always the guy who attacks the ball, just the beautiful shot. Even the voice of the racket is something which you start really liking after one point of time. So now, before we end, I must go around the table and ask for your favorite Roger Federer match up until now. Also, since it has to do it, one match which you really wish Roger Federer won. Wimbledon 2019 is already taken. It's not allowed to be mentioned. Sorry. So Tejas, what's your favorite match and one match which you wish Roger Federer could have won?
Uh, my favorite match. I mean, if it was, if you had asked me like before Federer's retirement, I would have said the 2008 finals, which he lost. But no, I think the best that I have seen him play was in 2012 when he beat Djokovic and Murray back to
Hmm.
back in semis and finals. I think that was the best grass court tennis I've seen, because
Yeah.
I think back in 2012. Again, Federer was going through a little bit of a low with his back injury and stuff, but and Djokovic and Murray, they were getting into the groove. They were probably the best players around that time on grass, to say the least. So I think the kind of tennis that he played was incredible.
Yep.
Way too good. I think the match he should have won. I think any match he lost at the Olympics.
Yeah, I was completely missing that.
Anything he lost over there. He's too good a player not to have a singles gold medal.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that he had just about everything. He has won. I mean, we also just don't mention the fact that he has won World Tour finals so many times, right? I mean, that is like a mini Grand Slam in itself. He was so dominant there as well. So I think the matches he lost, especially I think in 2012 Olympics, the finals, is it against Andy Murray? I think Murray won that Wimbledon Olympics, right? Maybe that he should have really won and completed that set. That probably it's Olympics miss that Federer never won the gold medal there, but yeah, I really wanted him to win that finals against Andy in 2012.
Yeah, so again, like I completely missed that point. Like even while doing the kind of research for this, that Federer actually never had a gold medal in Olympics, which is again a pain point because he definitely deserved one, as we say. But yeah, like he never was able to get there, even with all the records. Sometimes you just miss something. Like Rafa, I don't think will ever have the World Tour finals. I don't think he's gonna have one now. So that's just going to be missing from all of this.
Will he even play by the end of the season?
About this year, like I think next year is the last time we see of Rafa, to be very honest. The way it is going, like unless he has some miracle, I don't know. But I think next year will be the last of Rafa. But yeah, and I don't see him winning World Tour finals. It's too fast. The courts are too fast. He doesn't have that kind of thing left. Also, I don't think he doesn't feel the same amount of passion for World Tour final as much as he does for the Grand Slam. So I think like that's going to play a certain amount of role. But yeah, Aniruddha, same question. The favorite match and the match which you wish Federer would have won. You're on mute, sir.
Yes. So for the match, Federer should have won. I was going to say the gold medal match with Andy Murray, but I guess Tejas just said that. So I think the match would be with Tsitsipas, which he lost at a Grand Slam. I can't remember if it was US Open or Australian Open, but I think it was quarterfinals. So I think that was the latest that he came to winning a Grand Slam, and I was like, at least this time if we could watch him play. So that, and I think my favorite match which he played would be it's really difficult, but I think 2016 or 2015 was it with Marin Cilic? I think 2016. I think.
Okay.
In the finals of Wimbledon or the semis?
Yes.
Of US?
I think semis. Semi.
Yeah, we can check the records right now. Cilic versus Federer.
There was in 2017, I think Cilic lost in the finals. 2014 semis US Open, I think Federer lost to Cilic.
Yes,
that's the
quarterfinal.
That's the match.
Yeah, 2016 was 2017 also he won against Cilic. It was the finals. Yeah, 2017 was the finals when the return year of Federer. Yeah, so he's right. He remembered the year. So yeah, Federer kind of, I think all of us have that Olympic pain point. I'm just waiting for that one match to come up because for me, like it was one of the saddest matches which he has lost. And surprising to me, but 2019 was an exact repeat of the match. That's why it becomes even more sad when I kind of think about that match. So I'm seeing if anybody mentions that, otherwise I'll mention it towards the end. So Richa, the best match of Federer and the match which you wish he would have won.
The best match. I mean, most of his matches, the ones he has won are best Grand Slam finals.
Spoken like a Federer fan.
Yeah. So I think there's just one match where which personally is my favorite because it went, I think, completely down to the wire, was the one which he had. I don't remember the year, but it was against Andy Roddick in the Wimbledon final, and it went down to 15. And I was
2009, I guess.
I was sitting right in front of the television like this, hoping every time he was down a break.
Hmm.
I was hoping that he just come back, and that just kept me at the edge. So I don't know. That's the reason that match is amongst my favorite, because he won it, went ahead and won it. And I was so hoping that 2019 Wimbledon final turn out like that, something like that. Unfortunately, it did not. That's one thing. I know there's Olympic medals being mentioned and all, but I think I would also think if something in the French Open, probably the first match, the first final which happened between Federer and Nadal in
Rafa, yeah.
French Open, if
Concept.
probably that turned around, maybe Federer would have more Grand Slams. Maybe that mental edge could have been different. So,
Yeah, like the
um,
way it works, we sometimes don't know. Also, like just a random fact, I think Federer is the only guy who has actually bageled Nadal on all the three surfaces, including clay. So
wow. Right.
yeah, that's a very weird stat, and he actually has done it. So it just shows you like how good of a player he is. And at one point, he was the best player. It was just Nadal, because of which he couldn't win more Roland Garros. Because even 2011, when Djokovic is having the time of his life, 43 undefeated, Federer was the guy who defeated him. So he was that good at even playing in clay, but it's just Rafa who kind of stopped him all the time. So Arijit, favorite Federer match which you wish he would have won.
Favorite Federer matches, like 2006, 7, 8 was the period to follow Federer, and everyone's mentioned all the good matches actually. So, the one I really liked him to win was definitely the win against Pete Sampras. I hadn't watched it. I read about it in Sportstar and the Hindu. So I was pretty excited. Back then, the journalists used to do a good work while reporting a match. And so 2001, I really liked that match where he defeated Pete Sampras, and there was this hope of seeing a new champion coming up. Uh, the one match, of course, again 2006, 2007, when he kept on losing to Nadal, and also he would break down in tears. That made him more endearing, actually.
Yeah.
That yes, there is a world champion out there, but men can also cry. So that was, and you don't feel bad at those things. They make people, when people come out with their rawest emotions, that is a beauty which we can only see in sports.
Yeah, like Arijit, as usual, Arijit has this quality of noticing such beautiful things that yeah, Federer actually is the person who is very open about crying in public, which is kind of becomes funny at times. But yeah, it's a quality in itself that he's so open about his emotions, so open about his emotions towards his children, towards his wife, and he's always just out there, heart on his sleeve, and that's why I think whole complete tennis world, like at one point I was just looking at all the Instagram statuses, like who is posting, and every single person who's into tennis community had a status about Federer, because that's how much impact he has had, that's how much people like him. It's just the length and width. Yeah, Arijit, go ahead.
To be honest and fair, I am not sad that Federer has retired. He has done a yeoman service to the game, but it was actually sad to follow him in recent years, that the news of his injuries coming up and all
Hmm.
that. So as a fan, I was being hurt. I was getting hurt by those news rather than him retiring, because he has provided the best of the game and memories. So I don't mind him retiring. He has given us sufficient memories to be cherished for a long time to come.
That's true, that Federer has indeed given us enough memories, whether you are his fans, whether you're not his fans. And I'll just say it at this point of time, I think at one point of time, at like one corner of heart, even whichever fan you are, you know that Federer is the GOAT. Like he has had that impact, and he's the only person who kind of became bigger than the sport. As of now, I don't know how it happens in future, but as of now, when he retires, he kind of did bring that emotion, which shows that why he was. called and he's still believed by many to be the greatest of all times because he has been that good at the sport. And for everybody, let me just close it. The match which I was trying to think, which was I was thinking about when I asked that question, was 2011 US Open against Djokovic, where again he was 5-3 up, 40-15. Sir Federer lost to return points, badmouthed Djokovic. And that was like 2011 Federer. But that was again, and when I saw that happen exactly like in a very similar fashion in 2019 with Biden, 40-15, two serves, and he was not able to convert it. It was kind of touching at the very same region where it was hurt back then. That was the match I was looking for. But yeah, amongst all of these things, what I think it came out of this discussion was it's not about how many matches you win or lose. It's about sometimes just that you give your best to the sport. And if you do it enough, people will love you. And even your parts where people felt sad, they'll feel sad with you. And this is what I think transcends the person from the sports itself and makes him something bigger. That all of us are here today, 1 week after US Open, discussing much more about him than we discussed about US Open, the new champion. So this was at the end of the US Open sessions of the podcast. We focused much more on the Roger Federer this time because it was such a big news. Thank you everybody for joining in. I will be closing off. Thank you everyone.